Namaskar, everyone, and welcome to this exciting show of Sathology, Debunking Mythology. I have a very distinguished guest with us who has who has been educationist all his life and has led many large institutions in India. And it is a great honor to interact with people who have a lot of experience in education from India. So today we are talking about a new education policy which has been launched in India. First of all, we'll talk about him, and then we'll also talk about new education policy so that we can learn what the Indian government is trying to do to match up to the Western countries in terms of reforming their education system, or what should they do. So without delay, let us welcome Sri Professor Vajpayee. Namaskar.
Thank you, Aditya. Thank you very much. Hope you're okay.
Yes, I am okay. So what is your, you have had such a long experience in education and you have helped so many students. So what is one area that you'd like to say that you would like to focus on in the coming times because you might be busy with some other assignment. So what is one area that you would like to focus on education?
Actually, Aditya, we are carrying the legacy of uh, colonial mindset, including our education system. In one sentence, each country has got its own structure and culture, and education system as well as contents of the education, especially curriculum, must match to the structure and the culture of that particular country. India also should have gone for its own, uh, cultural, heritage, knowledge pool, and everything. The one particular area which I am concentrating in today, and it's my future ambitious plan also, that's to bring our own indigenous knowledge system to our main foci of education, especially higher education and research. In each subject, India has contributed significantly, scientifically, with all its proofs, everything. But it was not properly recognized because India was under rules of alien people, maybe Mughals, maybe Britishers. Nothing to blame anybody, blaming Indians themselves after achieving achievement. They should have achieved independence in the area of generation of knowledge, and also it connect with the society, economy, polity, culture, and also it should have some futuristic approach, which India could not. So under this national education policy, which was just announced on 29th July of 2020, we are bringing a lot of changes, some transformation in our education system. Then one sentence, so far as my ambitious plan in education research is to bring indigenous knowledge systems and provide proper respect, honor to our own system, which belongs to India, which has given direction to the world also in the past, but not only in words and academics. It should be scientifically uh, revisited, rediscovered, repurposed also as well as, and that should be respected and recognized by the world. If you're doing anything for your own self, that will not be good. We should get global recognition also.
India is very well known in the USA for things which are very unique to India, like some things like yoga, meditation, Indian dances, ancient Indian sciences, uh, including Ayurveda and also astronomy, which are India has a totally parallel system as compared to USA. Education system also, the Gurukul system of India is a parallel alternative to the Western system. So anything Western system has, India has an alternative way, including mathematics. Mathematics, India has a unique way, mathematical calculations, uh, and and that makes it stand apart from rest of the world. And I'm not even talking about the history. Uh, so how does this education policy cover these new areas of uh, India, which is widely respected across the world?
Aditya, you're very correct, but only a point of difference. India doesn't have a parallel system to the West. The West is parallel to India because it's an established fact that you see Rig Veda is the oldest scripture on earth.
Correct.
Indian civilization is much, 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 much older than in Western civilization. So alternative has been created by the Westerns, and if at all has been borrowed by anybody that is a West, and there is a root also. Knowledge has gone from India to Greek to Arab and to the Western world. Everybody see knows it. Only it is to be established by the scientific practice. So actually, you talked about yoga, and I'm very happy that you rightly pronounced this very concept of yoga. Generally, it is called yoga. Yoga is not, you see, our pronunciation. Yoga is the complete sense. Yoga is one of the basic science which Rishi Patanjali has only narrated, decoded. Patanjali is not the originator of the yoga science. The originator is Lord Krishna, rather God Krishna. Why should we call him Lord? God Krishna. God Krishna is he mentioned in Pancham Adhyaya of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. This yoga which I am giving to you, my dear Arjun, Partha, first time I gave to son, and son gave it to his son Vivasvat. From Vivasvat, it went to Ikshaku. From Ikshaku, it disappeared somehow, I don't know. And now I am just giving to you. And the date which is connected to Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, is more than 5,000 years. It has been established by those Muhurta, and also NASA people also have given that scientific touch. So if we just see the birth of sun itself, it goes to you see 4 crore years plus years so far as birth of sun is concerned. So yoga has got legacy on this earth of more than 4 crore years. I am using Indian say number crore, not converting into millions. That will take time for me. And Patanjali, what he do? He is a Sutrakar. Sutrakar means who collects the tenets and just gives a shape in the words. He is not the originator. He himself writes that I am not the original of you see, yoga, but we owe a lot to Bhagwan Patanjali. So, yoga is the basic science, and it's a medium as well as purpose, as well as objective. Medium in the sense that we can obtain, you see, other purushartha, which is dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Four purposes of life have been given by Indian philosophers. To achieve that, you should have your this body technology perfect from toes to tail. It should be perfection. So asanas are there. From asanas, we go to the pranayam, it's a breathing system to connect to the inner body. Then we go to other streams, ultimately converting into dhyana. Dhyana means connecting to that particular subtle part which cannot be seen by this naked eyes. Agochar जिसको बोलते हैं. Agochar means which is above the senses. And that dhyan connects that particular part of soul which is the owner of this body. So, yoga is a complete science from outer body to inner and innermost body. Inner body is our mind, is also psychology also. But this psychology has also been mapped, and also it has also been put to machines. They can also tell you whether you are telling a lie or if you are speaking the truth. But soul has not been, you see, mapped by any technology. But yoga gives you that methodology through which you can connect yourself. When your entire body is integrated, then you can achieve anything on the world. This is why yoga is one of the basic science. It's a basically researched, you see, research oriented knowledge system of India, and it per se itself is a knowledge, and also it gives a path. It gives a path to obtain, you see, further researches in other disciplines available in the whole of universe, not only the stars but other planets also. And this is how Aditya and my dear friends, you may be, you see, astonished to know in astronomy most of these, you see, planets, which NASA says that these are the planets, but the number of planets, which we call it Navagraha like that, they have been, you see, identified with their, you see, properties, characteristics, weight, what is there, what is not there, color and everything by our rishis. So rishis by this physical body must have not gone to sun, nor you see they have got any measurement rod also what is the distance from sun to the earth. This is etheric body. This is etheric, abstract, most subtle, most body I said, through which they used to visit all the universal, you see, planets like that, and getting all properties and coming to the body system and writing like that. This was the methodology. So, yoga, as you told very correctly, our honorable Prime Minister he raised his voice in the United Nations General Assembly. I think it was September of 2015, and said that yoga is the wisdom of India and it must be adopted by all countries. The United Nations General Assembly accepted, and 21st June is being celebrated by all the countries. And I was very happy when I came to about 192 countries out of about 220 countries in the world. They celebrate yoga on 21st June. Similarly, Ayurveda is also one of these things which I'll just deliver upon afterwards. Yes, Adit.
No, thank you for correcting me that India is the origin of these sciences, and thank you for correcting me. And that is expected from a person as reputed as you. Now, coming to my connected question, the introduction of International Day of Yoga was a masterstroke in many ways. Yoga, because yoga is very deep science. It's not only just connected with a personal development, but also brings a human to a next level of consciousness.
Yeah.
And in USA, around 40% Americans have experienced yoga in a very positive way. And out of those 40%, I would say 24% of Americans, they are regularly doing yoga. And and I think that has been the uh, uh, biggest respect for India also. That is the biggest respect for India because many people are discovering how yoga is helping them in removing some bodily issues that they have. But not only it is that, but it is also helping them excel in academics, in sports, in science. So it has become an integral. I've seen many CEOs, including some football teams of USA. which is a football is a very popular sport here, American
yeah,
football and baseball. They are also getting into it, and I've seen some universities also introducing academic courses on yoga also to discover the scientific benefits of that. And
yeah.
you also mentioned NASA. NASA has recognized Indian contribution, and probably I would go that far that they first took initial theoretical information from uh, Vedic scriptures, and then they went on to do a research to establish their rocketry sciences, which is also coming from the East. Very few people know the history. The Chinese learned the rocketry from India, and then it
Yeah.
reached China from there. So China is not the origin of rocketry, if most of you believe. So what do you have to say that India has already been, or the ancient scriptures of India has already been a guide to the Western scientists in this aspect also?
Actually, the source of knowledge of the world, world knowledge, is our Vedas. The Vedas, our say, rishis, as I told you, from there you see etheric body, the subtlemost body. They have visited all nook and corner of the universe, entire flora fauna, beneath the earth, on the earth, and above the earth, whatever exists, they have you see visited, seen, and also realized. And that realization of knowledge was passed through their students, their pupils, their disciples. Then disciples also became gurus, and they also transferred that you see knowledge to their disciples. So there is a chain of the legacy of disciples, you see, with own, you see, owning and realizing then policy and also preserving the knowledge. Then ultimately Vyasa came. Vyasa in the with the help of God Ganesha, whose you see celebration we are performing nowadays. Vyasa started writing those realized you see mantras. So actually, we don't know the actual date of you see scripting those you see knowledge as such. So knowledge, that's why it is known as Shruti Parampara. Shruti Parampara means hearing and realizing, and again you see passing it on to you see his own disciples. So anything related to whether it's astronomy or it's rocketry I've told, or it is making of ship, or it is medicines, or it is the flora fauna. As I'll give you one example. Nowadays we are talking about the biodiversity. Biodiversity we are talking about. And as per the available stock of biodiversity, the Indian or the world over scientists could map only 13.5 million species. And Indian rishis talked about 84 lakh yonia, 84 million species. This is much, much more. How this particular number has come? Neither it is 83.99 lakh nor it is 85 lakh. It has been completely mapped, estimated, calculated by that you see much, much sophisticated than the brain computer. It is not merely the brain computer, it is much faster, more sophisticated than the brain computer they see possess. It may be spiritual computation as a methodology if they may be having. From those, see, they have given the mantras. From mantras, everything is existing. We are having four Vedas, having you see different directionals of the knowledge, and from them, these things are being decoded. Somebody you see takes one part, somebody takes the other part, and somebody takes the third part, like that. And Adit, you see, we are one who neither believed and we cannot believe in this intellectual property right or this any thing like say patenting like that, because we know that of everything which is existing in our body system, it is given by the God, isn't it? Ishar Pradat, God has given everything. So why should have we see any right over this thing? So neither the Vedas of the past nor so much of knowledge being generated by us is being you see patented or any property rights. So it is equally available to all the world full of people. And here it is said in our prayers, uh, Apurva Koshoyam Vidyate Tav Bharati. Oh Goddess Bharati, your Kosh, your treasure of knowledge is unique, is parallel to none. Vyate Vradhi Mayati, Chay Mayati Sanchayat. More we you see spend, it increases. More we save, it diminishes. Almost all the treasure of the world, if you spend, they will diminish. If you save, they will increase. And the treasure of knowledge is entirely different. So we have been sharing. People from the world over used to come. We are having, you see, stories of these Greek persons also came to India. Huan Sang Payan also from China, they came to India. They had taken a lot of scriptures also outside. And when India was a colony, then the British scholars, in Oxford, there is one center for Hindu studies. I have visited to see that see center. You'll find a lot of see Vedas, Puranas over there. And similarly, in most of the university of the states, they are also having, and they are validating. They are doing you see serious type of researches, testing them in laboratory. What lacks in India, we don't have that which is scientific testing laboratories which can test our own indigenous you see, knowledge systems. If that will be done, then only we can completely decode. I'll give an example, then I'll just finish with my see, answer. The great mathematician of today, Ramanujan. Everybody knows it, Ramanujan. If people don't know Ramanujan, then Manjul Bhargava may be knowing. Manjul Bhargava is just, we can say, a disciple of Ramanujan only, though there is a lot of gap in the age like that. But he tried to develop so many things. And Manjul Bhargava is a Fields Medal awardee. There is no Nobel Prize in mathematics. An equivalent to Nobel Prize of Fields Medal, who does, you see, some pioneer, some original work in mathematics. He prepared documentary on Ramanujan. Ramanujan is not a mathematician by profession. He's almost 10th standard or 12th standard pass. But something is happening to him. He is doing mathematics. Then he went to Trinity College of Cambridge, and Hardy invited him. And Hardy himself said that we haven't come across any greater mathematician than him. His diaries are preserved in Trinity College, and his theorems have not been hitherto fully decoded. This is the case with our Vedas. So, what is required? We require see modern scientists with all you see modern knowledge of science as well as methodology and technology of science, and Vedas on the other side. There should be happy blending in the two. And if the persons like you who are working on saptology, if they undertake this particular project, I'll be very happy to see, join hands with you in this research work. And then only the happy blending of the East and West. Knowledge is one. India never discriminated on this region's biases. It is East or it is West. They say, Anu Bhadraha Kratvo Yantu Sarvata. Whatever is good ideas, noble thoughts in the world, they should come from all over the world. There shouldn't be any discrimination. Similarly, we share our thoughts to the world. Okay, Adit.
Excellent answer, and you made many points. I was making note of them, and you also brought up the Ramanujan. Now, the the biggest, I think, from the American point of view, and I'll ask on behalf of the students here, most of them know that the world civilization has its origins from Bharat or India. Most of them know this civilization, even though the Western authors, and thank you for recognizing Sathology, that's our work. Our work is to present all these authors, Ramanujam, as authorities, Sathology, as a science of truth. Because these, even though Ramanujam is very much respected in the West, but people still don't know about him, much about him, because he's not discussed. And still uh, there is a some recognition needs to be given more than what he has been given so far. But there are many other philosophies, many other sciences which the West doesn't know, and they are not yet discussed, even though simple things like Chanakya Niti and simple things
Yeah.
like economic systems, where you have Chanakya's economic system, which is Arthashastra, which Chanakya himself says that he compiled this from different sources, whether Mahabharata, Ramayana, or other places. And also the Western academic systems or Western political systems, which have been evolved over reforms, actually, through reforms, the liberal, what do you call it, classic liberalism, social liberalism, and which US is a very, the two-party system is nothing but classic liberalism uh, versus so this is the social liberalism. This is one is Democrats and one is GOP. Now all these political philosophies have existed in the past in India, and some of them have succeeded, some of them have been failed, but there has never been a comparison made where the Arthashastra, how Arthashastra takes care of all the Varna and Ashram. Varna means all people. It's just all categories of people. And how this has been compared to the Western economic models as well as social models and political models. So world is looking up to,
Uh,
yeah, India and
yes.
people like you.
Good.
So can you please elaborate on these topics, please?
Aditya, you rightly mentioned about Kautilya's Arthashastra. You referred to Varnashram Vyavastha, the political systems of the world as a whole. The basic difference, Aditya, between our philosophy, which is the uh, just value of life as, and the Western one, we believe in holistic one. We do not believe in discrimination. We don't believe in fragmentation. We doesn't believe in reductionist approach as such. Holistic one. And I just connect one thing as we being Indians, we are being told that basic characteristic of India is unity in diversity. Means we are having diversities and some unity is there to connect between the diversity. But actual property of India is Ekoham Bahusyam. I am one and I have got manifestation over, you see, different parts of this world. So Brahma is one. Brahma is that power which manifests in animate and inanimate world as such. Entire flora, fauna, the mountains, the rivers, everything has got manifestation of that Brahma, that ultimate power. So that is a basic difference as such. When Kautilya, right, I'm just connecting my see, basic paradigm. Kautilya wrote Arthashastra. Aditya, Arthashastra is not economics.
Correct. Whole
It's
social
not
system.
economics. It's not economics. It's whole, you see, political economy. whole is the defense studies, it's the whole is the earth sciences, so many things. Actually, we are having four purusharthas: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Dharma, a shastra related to dharma is dharma shastra, and shastra related to artha. Artha means the worldly sciences. All the worldly sciences which have connectivity with the other shastras also is artha shastra. Artha means worldly sciences. It includes so many, you see, things as such. So, uh, Kautilya is the first, we don't call, we call him Acharya Kautilya. Even we don't call him Guru because he wanted to have some functional relationship of education vis-a-vis the world, the outer society. Before that, the education was used to be means to get some moksha or something to obtain in the other world as such. He wanted to establish the reign of Vikramaditya, Chandragupta. So he gave everything: how to earn money, how to spend money, how to have, you see, a defense issues related, how to be, you see, diplomatic, what type of spies should be there, what type of taxation should be there, what type of king should be there, what should be characteristic of a good king, how, you see, king should distribute his time, how to, you see, routine of the king is also be properly charged out. Everything is there that provides the base of any is a system, a political system we can call it. But what happens when it comes to the West as such? Western didn't follow the lines of, say, Indian philosophy. They go by either Adam Smithian or Karl Marxian. Karl Marx believes, you see, in making a classes. Varna Vyavastha, which you are talking about, Varnashram Vyavastha, Varna Ashram Vyavastha, Kautilya also talked about Varna Ashram Vyavastha, but it was given by Manu in Manu Smriti. Varna means four parts of the society which are connected with one pool of society. One pool of society. It is not discriminate. And this has taken from the root of Rig Veda's Purusha Sukta, in which Purush means one God. It is not man or person like that. Purush means God, which is a part of Prakriti. Purush evam Prakriti. Nature and that Purush become the complete, you see, system. It has four parts like head is there, arms are there, stomach are there, and legs are there. The four are integral parts of that particular body. So that integral society should also be created, and everybody has got its own work distribution. So according to the distribution of work, some, you see, sections have been identified. Bhagavan Krishna, you see, Bhagavad Gita says, Chaturvarnam maya srashtam guna karma vibhagashah. I have created with all four varnas according to their characteristic and their duties. So duties are there. In Mahabharata Shanti Parva, everything has been beautifully narrated according to Varna. So Varna is not to create a classes and to have a clash, a struggle between the two. Because when Karl Marx says that thesis should have its antithesis, and from antithesis to obtain the synthesis as such. This is not the method of achieving synthesis or shanti or peace or satisfaction in India. From thesis, directly this synthesis can be obtained without any struggle as such, by Shastra Charcha, by Shastrartha Charcha, by talking to you, by convincing each other. So, Varna Vyavastha is to unite the society harmoniously, and ashram is to sublime one own objective. Ashram is brahmacharya of 25 years, grahastha of another 25 years, vanaprastha is third, you see, 25 years, and sannyasa is the last 25 years. 100 years have been. So ashram is to elevation of individuals, and varna is to connect the society, that is complete varnashram, which is totally different. And this varna vyavastha has also been, you see, translated into political science in politics. When you are having two-party system or many-party system, you have parties, no doubt about, but why it percolates down so, you see, badly, you see, at the society level, that where we create so many societies in one society, so many groups in one particular society, and they are not in talking terms. They keep on struggling with each other, and there are so many, you see, Asian countries where, you see, political deaths, you see, are very common. So, whatever mentioning different party system as such, if they are having any one particular part to control this power, this is party powers, then it's okay. If they are working differently on different lines, and so there is a lot of leg pulling, there is a lot of blaming each other. So that is not the Vyavastha of our own. So Kautilya talks about different forms of the kingdom also. India has seen. And India believes in truth. If truth is an individual monarch, that is a better system like a Ram. Ram was Raja, Ram Raj we are talking. Ram was a single man, but you see, he was a complete democrat on the earth. He used to believe in the voices of even individuals at the cost of his own personal life's pleasure, and also knowingly that it is going to bring bad name to him. But he wanted to give respect to him. And democracy also, it has got its truth, well and good. Other, if suppose democracy means only you see, electing the people representative, sitting in any parliament and deciding something on their own whims, and just you see, thoughts as such, which is not carrying the senses, carrying the messages coming from society by the broader society, that democracy is bad. So truth is more important than any political system.
So, so well put it, Professor. You have really hit the nail on this point uh, because the world has already exhausted all the options, whether it's
Aditya, please
science.
excuse me. I would like to have a sip of my tea also as well. No?
Yes, please, please.
Thank you.
So, and world has exhausted all the options in philosophies, like political philosophies, social philosophies, and most of them have turned to be very exploitative. The
Yeah.
capitalistic economic model, even socialism has failed tremendously. Communism has already broken down. I think the last country on the earth, China, is already struggling internally. And so these philosophies have not brought peace, happiness, and prosperity down to the last level. And so, what you said is so accurate and apt, and I totally believe in it. And that's why we call it Sathology, because it's a science of truth. At the end of the day, the aspirations of the last man on the street has to be met, or a path has to be given to him, and that is only possible through, you took the name of Bhagwan Ram, and that's what it comes down to, because there is one Maryada Purushottam, or the topmost person who upholds etiquettes. And so you already took that the point over there. My last question in this series, and the audience is really happy with all the guidance that you're giving to them. My last question today is that the India has, or Bharat, or has been respected for its culture in the world and its people, and more than the governance. Only in the last 6 years, India has actually claimed its heritage. In the last 6 years of the Indian government, they have claimed its heritage. Before that, they were always apologizing, or they were being defensive. But in last 6 years, uh, based on the new government structure in India, India has come out and not imposed anything on the world, but has claimed that this is who we are, this is what we represent, and there is a lot more to come, because I think this new education policy is actually geared towards that. So, what are the new components of this education policy which you think can make other people understand that what it is India is all about?
Okay, Aditya, there is one shloka dharma rakshati rakshitah. If you are just protecting the dharma, dharma protects you. India, per se, lo behold, has got so much power, intrinsic power in its own culture, its own civilization. It cannot, you see, bear any sort of, you see, alien uh, body in it. Sometimes or the other, it will throw it out. Actually, our own history of struggles have not been properly taught neither to our own students or not to the world students as such. So I'll request you through this Sattology, you see, mission, we should come forth with the real history, real stories of Indian civilization. Culture and civilization both are one in India. In other countries, civilizations are those which makes a people seen as a civilians, and culture is something within. In India, our culture is civilization. Civilization, like you see, like values, values of life, which is culture. But both are being governed, dictated, and decided by the power of spirituality. India is a spiritual country. Someday I'll come on your platform to discuss about the dynamics of spirituality. Spirituality and spirituality, you see, believes in oneness, in holistic, in integrated, in non-issue discriminating manner. It connects the times, it connects the regions, and it connects the people. It doesn't take credit of, you see, anything. There is no place of, you see, advertisement, demonstration in spirituality. These are the basic, you see, characteristics which India possesses and being proud of. There was time, there were certain limitations of the earlier people also. But when these people came in power, Bharatiya Janata Party at the helm of affairs, as you see, Prime Minister Honorable Shri Modi ji, he's full of that is spiritual power. And India too wanted, India has generated that particular system, the social system, the voices of society came also so vigorous. So any power in the state could have not tolerated all those things which you see, which are saying today nowadays. One thing, just point of a little bit correction. It's a national education policy. Though it is new, but the name given to this education policy is national education policy. National means that it covers the whole nation. It connects from school education to the researches. It is bringing a lot of, see, liberal arts to, see, vocational education, science and astrology, everything for the study. There is a lot of flexibility of, the exit and, you see, entry. A lot of choices are given there so as personality development is concerned. A lot of connect is also imbibed in the national education policy so that education can be connected with the society, polity, economy, diplomacy, and many other fields. Like education, not only for the sake of education, but to have a functional relationship vis-a-vis development of the society, economy, polity, like that. So, see, various verticals have been first time created and included in a beautiful manner in this national education policy. But the most important thing which you are interested in, the point of language. I am talking to you in English language. English is the internationally connected language as such. But you see, during my schooling, I never studied English. I was studying Hindi, Sanskrit, like that. I think I started, you see, reading English at the standard of 8. Rather, it's from ninth standard, I started studying, you see, English as a language. But I picked up. I am now see, so fluent in English, and there is no problem as such. But initially, so our personality development is concerned. Suppose your schooling is given your mother tongue, that is much better. And our mother tongue is not only Hindi. This national education policy, which I am more excited about, gives importance to our language Sanskrit. And if Sanskrit is imparted properly, in appropriate manner, in a qualitative manner to students, coming from the schools to the high, then it will open the doors of that indigenous knowledge systems which is still closed to so many subhashit which directly deals with the values of life. They will be given to those students that will bring ethical systems to the students. And likely, which I have just narrated, whether it is yoga or Ayurveda or physics, chemistry or economics, or even finest part of literature or grammar or philosophy, everything is written is a Sanskrit. So they will have a see broader, bigger pool of Sanskrit people, and also persons having the modern scientific knowledge. If they will join and together, then complete one knowledge which will have the basic pool of indigenous knowledge and technology, modern technology. Modern technology will help understand, validate our indigenous knowledge so that there is a respect of the world as such. Without global respect, if we are doing in a cocoon manner at our own level and getting appreciation from ourselves only, that also won't serve the purpose. We are living in a global world as such. We are the global citizens. So this national education policy also has got one vertical of inviting 100 universities to the top. The Ivy League university they are talking about. You know the Ivy League university is Harvard, Yale, and Princeton, like that. So 100 universities can open their campuses here in India, and there may be some win-win situation between Indian universities and the universities of the West, and both can gain from each other. That's the ultimate objective of this national education policy. You know that India has talked about the self-reliance, Atmanirbharta, which I have given another word. I think you'll be happy to note. I'm not talking about the self-reliant. I'm talking self-propellant India.
Very good.
There
Excellent.
is a basic difference between self-propellant and self-reliant.
Correct.
Atma is स्फूर्त, अंदर ही अंदर अपने आप से चीजें बढ़ रही हैं. I am giving some Hindi words also so that my friends of the West should know that हिंदी में बहुत कुछ है, संस्कृत में बहुत कुछ है, उनको जानना चाहिए. हिंदी भी, संस्कृत भी.
Very well put. And Sanskrit is one of the most sophisticated languages, and
Yes.
and also the any languages coming directly connected with Sanskrit like Telugu, Malayalam, Marathi, which is very pure towards Sanskrit and Hindi. These are all equally as powerful because they have the same expression power of Sanskrit.
Yeah.
And also Sanskrit is also being recognized by NASA. For viewers who do not know, that IBM Research Labs has adopted Sanskrit for text to speech conversion, and
Hmm.
also speech to text conversion, because the Sanskrit script in which it is written, Devanagari, is one of the most scientific scripts on the planet, which can actually decipher any voice, any phonetic voice can be spoken accurately. It can capture that. And so for any international or space travel, we already know that there are a lot of people live in other planets also. It's easier to capture them in Sanskrit than any other language. And Sanskrit is the mother of Latin, and then from Latin, all the Western languages have come. And Brahmi script has actually become Roman script, which is very similar letter system is there with the Brahmi. Anyway, We'll come back a lot with you, Professor, because you have a wealth of knowledge, and we'll come back and discuss with
Thank
you
you.
more on different topics. For viewers, today you watched an exciting session with Professor Vajpayee, and all his details and his websites will be available to you if you want to contact him directly. And for those, if you want to reach through us, I'll be happy to connect you to him. There are many questions by the viewers, but our time is up, our links are expiring, and I really thank all the hosts which are hosting this event today. And this video will be available on YouTube in a couple of days, and you can always comment over there and you can share that video. But I must tell you, this short video of ours will give you a lot of insights into what India is planning to do and how India is taking education forward. With that, namaskar, and very grateful to you, Professor, and would like to
Okay,
invite you
thank you.
next time. And I would like to notice one picture on the
Okay.
right hand side, which is Dalai Lama and yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll end
Yeah.
the quote with Dalai
Dalai
Lama.
Lama is,
I'll end
yeah.
the quote with Dalai Lama.
Dalai Lama His Holiness Dalai Lama is a great saint on the earth.
Yes.
I have got his personal connections with him. Yeah.
I would like to tell you one
When
thing.
I was in Himachal, na, he also,
Hmm. Yes, please go ahead. You're telling something on
yeah.
Himachal.
And when I was in Himachal, na, so you see, there is a place called MacLeodganj. Where is His Holiness he live? So I invited him to our convocation also, the chief guest to our convocation.
Hmm.
He's a very pious soul, very pious, soul,
Yeah,
great person.
and a very good humorous. So he visited
Yeah,
Houston, he visited San Diego, and I had a chance to meet him. And one thing he said
yeah,
to everybody in San Diego, there were 40,000 people waiting to meet him, a very popular personality. And he said, Hindus are my gurus. And
yeah.
that's
And
exactly
yes,
he
my
said.
Guru Hinduism. Yes,
He said, Hindus
I
are
am
my
there.
gurus.
I am his great chela. I
Yes,
am his great chela,
yes.
and Hindus are my gurus. Right? Very good.
And out of his own humility, he was saying that because a quality of a humble person is that he glorifies others. So out of his own humility, he was saying. But with that, we'll end the show. Thank you all for watching. And thank you, Professor Vajpayee. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Aditya. Thank you very much for connecting me to the world. Okay, thank you. Okay. Vande Matram.
Vande Mataram.